Well, we are learning more about how much money the 2024 presidential candidates have been raising. Last month, President Biden's campaign outpaced former President Trump, bringing in around $15.7 million, according to federal filings. The Trump campaign reported over $8.8 million in donations in January. And outpacing the Republican frontrunner, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley's campaign raised over $11.5 million in the same month. She has vowed to stay in the race. CBS News campaign reporters Aaron Navarro and Jake Rosen join us now as we dig into these numbers. Aaron, I'm going to start with you. The Biden campaign says when you include all of its affiliated committees and the Democratic National Committee that the total haul is $42 million in January for the Democrats. How significant is this?
Well, this is a bright spot for the Biden campaign, especially in this political environment where you kind of have this extended general election to an extent, where it's expected to be a rematch with him and Trump. And for context, the last 3 months of 2023, Biden's campaign and its affiliated committees raised about $107 million. That's about a pace of $33 million a month. And in this first month of this year, they had $42 million. So they're feeling good about that. But one other number to look at is the cash on hand. When you include Biden's committees, the Democratic National Committee, they came into February this month with $130 million cash on hand. That's roughly double of the compared groups for former President Trump.
Jake, I think it's a good point that the money that the individual candidate receives is different from the total haul. So talk to us about how President Trump is doing on that front. And then also tell us how the Trump campaign and pro-Trump PACs are actually being used in some cases to fund the former president's legal fees.
Right. So Donald Trump obviously was still on the campaign trail in Iowa and in New Hampshire in January. So his campaign had to spend probably a lot more than they would like to defending kind of their lead in those states. But in terms of kind of how they've postured themselves going forward, they still have $30 million left cash on hand as they started February. Now, when you get to the legal fees, basically the Save America PAC, which is one of the PACs that's been paying Trump's legal bills over the last year plus, they basically spent $3 million just in January alone, and that's on top of the about $50 million that the PACs combined paid in 2023. So still a pretty hefty cost on just the general operations. While the Trump campaign's fundraising is still very strong, the PACs that are supporting him still have to reshuffle and restructure money to basically make sure that all of these legal charges around the 91 counts, felony counts, and also the civil cases, as we saw even last week, they still have to kind of shuffle money to make sure that those bills can be paid.
Aaron, President Biden is on a fundraising swing in California right now. How's that going? What's he saying to fundraisers?
That's right. His second swing to the state this month for fundraising. A source familiar says that President Biden is expected to raise at least $10 million throughout this week's swing in California. In terms of what he's saying, notably last night he went after Republicans for, in his words, not doing enough to fund Ukraine. He went after them for kind of the sunken bipartisan border bill that fell apart in Congress. But generally, the remarks are not too different from what you see in public. He'll tout some of the economic achievements under his term, saying that they are on the road to recovery or are almost there. And he'll also go after former President Trump on the litany of topics. Last night, he said Republicans have to decide, quote, whether they serve Trump or the American people. And lastly, you'll see the president joke about his age during these fundraisers.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, saying how he knows he's only 40 years old and then adding ×2 in these remarks.
Interesting how he's choosing to address those criticisms that came out of that special counsel report. Hey, Jake, let's talk about Nikki Haley, because she's out fundraising on a personal level, the former president, and she said that even if she loses Saturday's primary in South Carolina, she has the money to continue going, and she intends to do so. How important has the fundraising been for her?
Well, it's going to continue to be the most important thing. While Nikki Haley can say publicly and can say, just like she did yesterday, that she's not going to drop out until every vote has been cast, she still needs to raise money. So we've seen in recent weeks in these Super Tuesday states that she has fundraised in addition to campaigning in them. Same in South Carolina. She needs to win or do well there. Obviously, Donald Trump has a very big lead, so she would need to kind of come up with an upset. But the big thing that we saw coming out of the January filings in the FEC was that Nikki Haley's best fundraising day was the day after the New Hampshire primary, when she came in second, framed it as a very close second, and basically was resilient and defiant, saying that she would not drop out. It's yet to be determined whether she can kind of continue that momentum, but it obviously worked in that day alone. She was able to raise a lot of money.
Interesting, and usually it's contrary to conventional wisdom, that the fundraising would continue even as we get deeper in, and she has yet to win any of those contests. All right, Aaron Navarro, Jake Rosen, thank you both.